Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're just going to give everybody a little bit of time to join. So please bear with us. We thank you for staying on mute for now. And we will get started soon. Lauren, I'm going to stop watching for people in the waiting room. So if you can start watching for people in the waiting room now and letting them in as they come in, that would be great. All right, we're going to get going here. Thank you all for making time today to be with us. My name is Samantha Van Scoik. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships at CIL. Before we get going, I have a couple housekeeping notes for you. We do have closed captioning available today. All you have to do to access that is click that CC button at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, and you'll be able to follow along with the captioning. We also have Lauren Roth on the call. Lauren, if you want to show yourself and wave. Hi, Lauren. Thank you. So Lauren is our silent tech person for today's program. If you guys have any tech challenges, feel free to message Lauren directly and she's going to help you out as best she can. And then this session is being recorded and we're going to upload the full recording onto our YouTube channel. So you can take notes, you can not take notes, whatever you're most comfortable with, but just know that you'll have this recording to refer back to. And we do ask that you please stay on mute until we get to our question and answer portion of the event. If you have questions as we go along, please drop them in the chat and we'll make sure that they get answered when we get to the Q&A. So today's topic is loans for accessibility. And we're going to cover the ins and outs of the program. We're going to talk about the eligibility requirements. And of course, as I alluded to earlier, we're going to have a nice amount of time set aside for a question and answer. But before we get into all that, I want to make sure that I wanted to give everybody an introduction to CIL in case you're not familiar with us. CIL is a nonprofit real estate solutions organization, and we do a lot of different things. And most people know us for the one thing that they know us for, but they might not realize that we have all these different parts and pieces to us. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page. CIL was formed in 1979 by a group of 6 service provider agencies who realized that as institutions such as Mansfield Training Center were being closed, service providers were going to need a group of reliable real estate experts that they could trust. So since 1979, CIL has been specializing in developing community residences, sometimes referred to as group homes. And we do this all throughout Massachusetts, all throughout Connecticut, and we're actually expanding into new geographies, which is really exciting. And if you're interested in learning any more about that, feel free to reach out to me. We also do development consulting. So we help nonprofits decide if maybe they want to buy their office building, but they need to like vet if that's a good decision or not. We help nonprofits figure that out. And then also, a lot of people know us for our community revitalization work, where we've done a lot of affordable housing development. We've also done like restoration of historic mill buildings, such as Capewell Lofts in Hartford. I think a lot of people are familiar with Atlantic Works, which is the more commonly referred to as the Connecticut Nonprofit Center in Hartford. So those are some of the things that we're known for. And then we also love to look at emerging supportive housing models, such as integrated communities, and see what we can do there, and how we can adapt and change to future needs. So, um, and then of course, finally, the reason we're all here today is our Access Solutions program, which Access Solutions is kind of like our umbrella program to all the different programs that we administer, that have to do with making homes more accessible so people can live more independently. So the three programs we have under that are MFP, LFA, which is what we're going to talk about today, and our unrestricted funds, which we fundraise every year for that program. And just as an FYI, we don't really have, I'm sure Fran will talk about this a little bit, but we don't have a ton of fundraised dollars this year. As we all know, it's been a challenging year for fundraising. But what we do have is over $1 million in LFA money, to help make Connecticut homes more accessible for people. So without further ado, I will introduce Fran Mazzarella, who is a senior real estate developer at CIL. And she is also the program administrator for Loans for Accessibility. And we'll get this show on the road.
Thank you, Sam. I just want to say welcome to everybody. Thanks so much for attending today. I see a few familiar faces out there. We do have you, I think somebody may have come in later, we do have you on mute. So we will unmute you once we get to the question and answer portion of the program. Again, I'm so thankful you guys are all here. I have been working with this program for about 22 years. As Sam said, we were awarded $1.5 million just about a year ago. It's been a little challenging to administer. Part of the issue is we went for 4 years with no funds. So we really didn't have funds available. So that makes our waiting list a little obsolete. We go through on a first come, first served basis to try to help people. So it's been a little challenging going into COVID. And so now we're just trying to do some outreach just to let people know that these funds are available and we are here to try to help eligible applicants. So we do administer these funds on behalf of the state of Connecticut Department of Housing. We are directly involved with every aspect of the program that leads into a project. So it is a statewide program. It is for homeowners only. These funds, we have had funds for tenants in the past, but this program is strictly for homeowners. And when I say homeowners, I mean the homeowner needs to live in the assisted unit. So it can't be a rental property that the homeowner is giving permission to a tenant. It has to actually be the homeowner's unit that we are assisting. So it could be a 2-family house. It's just that they have to live in that house. There is an income cap. We are at 100% of the area median income. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you exactly what that is. It depends on the area of the state that you live in and how many people live in the household. It is total household income. What that means is that if mom and dad are living there, and they both have income, we take both of their incomes into consideration. If mom, dad, grandma lives there and grandma has income, whether it be Social Security, that income is included. If you are living in a multi-family unit where you are renting out 1 or 2 of the other units, the rent is combined into that income. So it's the calculation. I can't tell you, what would make somebody eligible other than you could check the HUD income limits and see for the town that you live in, or that the person lives in, I should say, what their eligibility is based on total household, total total income for that area. There are some other pieces of eligibility. I'm going to touch lightly on them. I don't want to scare people away because it sounds way worse than it actually is. And I always tell people it's not as bad as it seems. So we do need proof of timely mortgage payments. And if there has been some history of mortgage payments missed, we will still work with you. We just have to ensure that, you know, going forward, you're going to be able to continue to meet that mortgage payment so that your home, you don't end up losing your home. We are trying to make sure people stay in the house. That is really the bottom line of the program. We are trying to keep people in their homes. The state does not want to see somebody lose their home, so we're trying to ensure that their eligibility is going to keep them there. We have to have current taxes, and unfortunately, if the taxes are not current, then we can't pull a building permit for the project, and all of the projects have to have a building permit. So that's another key factor of somebody's eligibility for the program. The homeowner needs to have property insurance, and they will have to assign the state of Connecticut on the insurance. But again, that's really a very small piece of the puzzle. So it's nothing that really needs to be worried about. What else can I tell you? So the loans can be from $5,000 to $70,000. There is a $70,000 cap that is set by the Department of Housing. If I can show that there really is a huge necessity to exceed that number, I can go back to the state and plead the case and try to get permission to exceed it. I haven't had to do that much, so I think that most people, we could probably help get accessible bathrooms and ramps and things like that under that cost cap. So again, I'm going to just give you kind of how the loan, it's called Loans for Accessibility. That scares people. It really is a grant, and the grant is amortized depending upon how much money we spend. So I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. So if we are from 0 to 15,000 is a 5-year lien against the house. We do have to file a lien against the land records. From 15 to 40,000, we have a 10-year lien filed against the house. Anything over 40,000 up to the 70,000 cap would be 15 years. I'm going to try to make this even more simple by saying, if I spend $20,000 on a recipient's modifications, they're going to have a 10-year lien. So if it's amortized over that 10-year time frame, then 10% each year from the date that I record the documents, $2,000 will come off the total. So as long as they don't sell the house within that 10-year time frame, the lien is completely forgiven. If they do sell the home, where depending upon where they are in that amortization schedule, they would have to pay back out of the proceeds of the sale of their house the remaining balance. Sorry about that. So that's kind of how it works. It's the biggest obstacle that I think I hit when I'm explaining to a potential person that needs mods, because a lot of people don't want to have this encumbrance on their property, but I try to assure them that if they're gonna stay there, and that's really the purpose of the program, is to keep you in your house. If they're gonna stay there, that it's worthwhile, and you know, then we can do the mods. So some of the modifications that we are able to do with program funds are ramps, stair glides, accessible bathrooms. I'm talking fully accessible bathrooms with roll-in showers, grab bars, handicap accessible toilets, wall-hung sinks. In some occasions, I mean, a lot of occasions, we widen doorways. We've lowered kitchen counters for somebody to be able to cook their own meals and make that easier for them. We've cut out underneath kitchen sinks, lowered them, and also cut out underneath so somebody using a wheelchair can get underneath. we've done vertical porch lifts outside if ramps are going to be too long for the application. Pretty much anything that needs to be done to make somebody's life more independent, and also for them to be able to stay in the house. It also includes upgrades to code related items. So if we are going to be doing work at the house and we look at the electrical panel, which is one of the things we always look at, if there's not going to be enough room in the box, then we can add a sub panel on. We've done service changes. On occasions where the roof may be leaking, we are able to fix those items. But the program is not a repair program, so it's accessibility first. So really, if they're eligible for the accessibility modifications, and when we do the home assessment, at that point, if we find that there's things that are out of code and need to be upgraded, then at that point we can help them. But I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that somebody can't call me and tell me they need their back steps repaired. It needs to be for accessibility. Once we determine eligibility, and I work with another woman at CIL, and she's great, and she does all of our kind of like our underwriting for the program. I try to assist her as much as I can in getting paperwork from the potential client. Once we determine that they're eligible, we would do an initial site visit. I would go out, meet whomever it is, see the property firsthand to see what exactly needs to be done. We would then schedule a site visit with an architect. Most of the projects do go to architects that we have preliminary plans drawn up, and we work through all the kinks, and then we will go to final plan. The final plans will be put out to bid to at least three licensed contractors in the state of Connecticut. The client is able to recommend somebody that they would like us to use, as long as they meet our eligibility requirements to work with us, then, which would mean they hold the necessary insurances, and they're not on the state debarment list. We check all those things out to make sure that they're in good standing. So we would then put it out to bid. The lowest bidder would be awarded the project. And once a building permit is pulled, we get moving. CIL, I do weekly or bi-weekly site visits to determine where the contractor is and whether or not we can release payment to them. And we pretty much see the project through till the end, until we get sign off by the local building officials. I should have backed up a little bit. Before we start construction, we do kind of have what we call our closing. And those are the documents that would need to be signed by the client in order for us to proceed. They would have to be filed on the land records. And that's kind of like the mortgage documents that spell everything out. And again, if they stay in the house, it's completely forgiven. So that's pretty much the program in a nutshell. I think we can probably open it up for questions if people have them, and then this way I can answer.
Great, thanks, Fran. I did get a couple questions directly to me, and then I see a couple in the chat, so I'm just going to read through some of them. One was, can a homeowner request a home modification loan to get accessibility improvements for their adult child or another relative?
Yes, and I should have touched on that. And I had it in my head, I was going to say it. So yes, they can, as long as the adult child is living with them. Even if the adult child is living on their own, as long as they are in their own house, they're eligible. And say that just two sisters are living together, because I've got a couple of those right now. They are most definitely eligible. We just have to combine. We still have to use their total household income. A lot of people think that it's just their income, and it's not. It's the total house. So they always say to me, but they don't contribute to. I'm like, I know they don't. It's not my role. Trust me, I'd let you do it the other way if it didn't matter, but I can't. So it is total household.
Great. So another question, does the homeowner need to have equity in the home to be eligible? And if so, what is the percentage?
They do not have to have equity per se, but there is, in the underwriting, there is a loan value calculation. And it's a little difficult for me to get really into that without having numbers. So I believe it's can't exceed 90%. Their loan to value ratio cannot exceed 90%. But I don't want to discourage people from applying by getting into that nitty gritty piece, because there's different factors that can change those things. And we can also go back to the state to try to get permission if somebody's over, if they're at 43 and they're supposed to be at no more than 40. I mean, I'm not gonna just say, sorry, we're closing the book on you. So we will still try to make that person become eligible.
And could you repeat the lien terms and the amounts?
Sure. So from $0 to 15,000, it's a 5-year lien, and that would be amortized over the 5 years. So 20% would come off each year. So say I recorded the mortgage documents on the property on January 1st, 2021. January 1st, 2022, 20% will come off of that amount. And so if it was 10,000, obviously, we're going to take 20% of that 10,000 will come off. And then for 5 more years after that, it will continue to come off. So $2,000 a year basically is what would come off if we were using that calculation. It then goes to 15,000 to 40,000, 15,001 to be exact, to 40,000. That is the 10-year, and that's amortized over 10 years, and it's 10% per year. So it would come off the total. And then the 15-year would be $40,001 up to the 70. And that comes off, I think the calculation is 6.75% per year would come off the total. So at the end of the 15 years, it would be null and void. I hope that was, I hope that was clear enough to understand.
And is it just income? Is it just total household income, Fran, or do you look at assets as well?
We really don't look at assets. So, obviously if somebody's got $200,000 cash in a savings account, we would hope that they would disclose that to us. But we don't really look at assets. We really look for income. And we do ask for a tax return from the prior year. So, I guess those things would be reflected in that as well. We really do want to help people with these funds. So.
I also see a question in the chat that is asking if we would like to share information with homeowners, who is the contact person and what is the contact number. So just as an FYI to everybody, Lauren just dropped a PDF into the chat. And if you had messaged me directly to get onto this call for the Zoom information, there was also a flyer attached to that Outlook invite as well. It's the same flyer. It has all of Fran's contact information on it, and her contact information is also available on our website, but Fran is the contact person for anything Access Solutions and for LFA especially. So then the next question we have here is, can we as contractors for a state-funded waiver program recommend CIL to the family and care manager if the scope of work is going to exceed the budgeted amount for that waiver? Or is that the job of the care manager?
So I'm assuming that person is eligible for money follows the person. I'm assuming. If they are I'm assuming that is coming from HSC. If that person is eligible for money follows the person, then the referral would go to DSS, to Paul Ford's office, and then Paul would refer to me. But if they're not a money follows the person, if that's not their eligibility, then the tenant, or I'm sorry, the homeowner can contact me, the care manager, whoever needs to contact me can contact me, and we will send out an application. But it sounds like if their funds are exceeding their waiver, that refers back to MFP. If somebody wants to further explain that, I would be happy to answer again.
Oh, this is a good question. This is one I don't know the answer to. Are funds available only for existing homes, or can new construction be eligible?
So, I mean, I have never built a new home, but I believe that we could incorporate accessibility mods, that piece of it, provide the funding for that piece of it within the house. So if you're building a new home and you are going to put in an accessible bathroom and a ramp, we could fund those pieces of the project. It would have to be separated out. With that being said, I mean, there might be some logistics we would have to figure out, but I've never been asked to help new construction, but I'm not going to say we won't, because I think there's probably a way we can.
And correct me if I'm wrong with what I'm about to say, Fran. But I believe the thing to keep in mind here is that the homeowner needs to live in the unit. So if you are a developer or building accessible housing, it's not going to apply to you. It needs to be the homeowner applying for the funds.
Exactly. And I mean, there could be homeowners that are doing exactly, working with a builder, but they're not the ones that can get the funds for it. We have to use the funds through the person that's actually in need of the accessibility mods. So yes, that's true. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Is there more questions, or?
We're at the end of the questions. I saw somebody was having a hard time downloading that, the PDF attachment from the chat. Lauren also dropped a link to a blog post that has all the info in it as well. And you can also download the flyer from our website right from that blog post. So if you want to click through to that, you'll have all the info you need. Does anybody have any other questions? Anything? Feel free. You can also feel free to unmute and, say hi.
I mean, I just want to say that, if anybody has any questions, please feel free, reach out to me. I'd be happy to speak to you directly. If you're in question as to whether or not somebody should apply, just apply, or just call me. Have them call me, because it's not going to hurt to call and ask a question. And we would rather people not feel intimidated by what I just kind of laid out, because it sounds more intimidating than it actually is. It's pretty easy to move forward with this. So, and our goal is to try to help as many people as we can to live independently. So,
hey, Franny.
Yes.
It's Robin Cobb from Hospital for Special Care.
Hi, Robin. How are you?
Hi. Question I had, I was trying to type, but I'm having trouble with my laptop. Is we have encountered a lot of issues, and maybe you can answer this with MFP. I know that there's a certain amount that our clients need to go home entering the MFP program, which means that they have to start there with their modifications. If I understand correctly, $15,000 or less. Right. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, this is money.
Yeah. So that's for MFP though. So their waiver, if they're on a waiver, is it CFC money? Is it Community First Choice?
Probably, yes.
Okay. So if they exceed community first choice though, can't you refer them to DSS to get funds through MFP, which CIL also administers for people that,
I don't know, when I'm trying to ask you as an occupational therapist that has a high ratio of spinal cord patients that almost always need modifications to their bathroom as well as other places in the house, I have not had good success with the MFP program. And you were on one case with me where you needed to go in and redo the entire bathroom all over again.
right?
I'm wondering, because the hospital has had such good success working with you, can we just navigate to you? But the answer is no if they're in MFP, am I right?
Yeah, I think that if they're in MFP, I don't want them, we'll have MFP funds very shortly. We're in the final closing process with those funds. I don't want to say that I can help them. Obviously, I could help them with LFA, but if they're eligible for MFP, I think they have to go through the MFP chain. But I can find that out and get back to you for sure.
So the problem we're having, if it's under 15,000 and the contractor says they can do it, we're finding that it's not being done in a way that really allows the patient to, one, be independent, but at the same time be successful and safe.
Right.
So how do we navigate that? And so what I did with MFP is I, as the OT, went out and did the home visit, gave my recommendations, but it wasn't utilized by the contractor at all. And the whole bathroom was done wrong. So
Right.
how do we navigate that better?
I think maybe if they truly I think they have to stay in the MFP system. So if that's the case, then I think this conversation probably needs to happen in another forum with maybe Paul Ford and see how we can improve that system, because I know there's flaws in that, only because you are limited with how much funds you can use with the $15,000 cap, and you don't really get very far with $15,000 anymore, unfortunately. So I think we can try to maybe do that as a sidebar to this forum.
Yeah, because I think that would help us navigate it and maybe even save money for the state, doing it the right way the first time, because a lot of my patients and families felt that it was not an easy system to navigate, and then had to correct what had already been done to make accessible.
Right. Yeah, I think that because we have that other pot of money coming, it makes sense for them to stay in that
program.
But yeah, so let's try to figure that out. We'll see if we can talk to Paul and see if he has any suggestions.
All right, well, this was helpful. I took notes to give to my staff because they didn't really understand that from the level it was at. So I will obviously give this to my staff, but I have to run to a meeting, but I thought maybe that next step will be good as well to connect everything up.
Yep, we can certainly do that for sure. And not to say that other people in the hospital, obviously not everybody is eligible for MFP. So if you have others, then obviously they can certainly just apply to our program directly.
I mean, yeah, not that it affects you, but what we're having a hard time with is a lot of these clients are sitting on a different unit, a transitional unit, waiting to go home because we can't find housing for them, rental housing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a whole different problem.
That is, for sure. Well,
all right, well, thank you.
I'll definitely connect with Paul and talk to him and see what he thinks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin.
Bye-bye.
Take care, bye-bye.
One last request I have of everybody, and of course we had the whole hour scheduled, so if you have more questions, please feel free to interrupt me with more questions. But because we didn't set this program up as a registration, we didn't have like a front end registration form. We just tried to spread the word to whoever sent the Zoom info all over the place. So if you want to be added to our email list that is all about accessibility, and we'll provide accessibility updates, please drop your email into the chat or direct message me with your email, and I'll make sure that you get added on, and we'll subscribe you just to updates about our accessibility programming. So that's how you'll be able to stay in the loop with CIL and what we're doing. And thank you again for joining. And if there's any, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes just so people can send me their emails. I see a lot of you already are. Thank you guys. And so, yeah, I think we're going to be pretty much closing out and not seeing any other questions.
Great. Again, please feel free to call me. And if you have any questions or are not sure of somebody's eligibility or whatever the case may be, I would be happy to speak to anybody.
And thank you guys. Sorry, my radiators are blowing force hot air. I hope you guys can't hear that too much, but thank you again for your time. And if we can ever be a resource for anything real estate related, accessibility related, we'd love to chat. So,
Sure.
all right. I'm going to stay on, but everybody can feel free to leave whenever you're ready. We're done with the program. So,
thank you, everybody.